That was strange. There we go.
Did we all just get kicked off?
Yep. Yeah. So
That's the first 15 minutes of the recording gone. Hey everyone, I'll do a quick introduction. Welcome to UX Research Call number 14. It's Mo here from the Bitcoin design community. My camera is off. We've just gotten kicked off the call, the call in pure Jitsi style. That was such a nice intro. Oh, it's such a shame we've lost it. Art, go for it. Continue.
And so where we're at now is this is probably the best time for this community to come in, the second best time. It's like that saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. So the second best time for all of us to be here today is to discuss and explore which thank you. Honestly, I love that. Is to determine and decide together, thinking about our ideal user, our ideal persona. What are the best prepackaged tools and methods that we can share in the prototyping and iterating phases for the toolkit, such that then we can delegate each of those tools and methods to maybe one of us or maybe a few of us together, for those people that love that method and are good at it, and then build that out iteratively.
Yeah. And the one thing that we're really trying to keep in mind is we want it to be lean and agile. So it's just lean processes. They need to be able to be, Art uses the word snackable. They need to go in there, jump, snack on it, grab it out of the toolkit, use it. And it needs to be very practical, very accessible. So
And
one of the goals of today is, using all of our minds together is to collaboratively vote on, we're going to just jam in Figma. The idea is to jam in Figma, and we each grab some sticky notes and we basically vote on what methodologies or tools we think would be useful at these different stages in the build process. Yeah, how does everyone feel about doing that? As I said, we keep everything collaborative, open, and yeah, we got a thumbs up from Precious. Cool. I will go ahead and share this FigJam file. It's fully open to everyone to edit. Here we go. That is a FigJam file. So if you all just want to hop in there. And then basically I guess we'll vote on the prototyping section first, which is learning if our solution is actually solving the problem. We're not sure if prototype would actually be the right word, so completely open to feedback from all of you. Feel free to make comments there or suggest different titles or different headings. And then we'll do a vote on iterate, making the solution that you've built better over time. Solution could, we could use the word product as well. Depends, if, I'm just playing around with words over here. So I was thinking we can all vote here. Just everyone grab a sticky note, vote for 10 minutes. I'll play some music. I'll turn on a timer. I hope the music I choose is okay for everyone. We'll vote on the prototyping section, tools, methodologies that you guys feel have worked really well. And then we'll use the stamp tool to actually make decisions around which ones we'll hold on to. So I'm going to go ahead and set a timer for, I think even 8 minutes should be fine. What do you guys think? Or even 5 minutes?
Mo, do you remember or not the ideas that we came up with before?
Yeah, I intentionally didn't share that because I didn't want to add in that bias. I actually intentionally didn't share in the ideas we added in before because I feel it would kind of bias the decisions. But do you guys think 8 minutes is a good voting time, or should we just shoot for 5?
I think we can do like 4 or 5 minutes ideating on methods and tools, and then like you don't need more than a minute to vote.
Yeah, cool. All right, I'm gonna shoot for 5 minutes. Feel free to hop in, grab those sticky notes. I'm going to play some music. I'm going to play It's Friday, and let's vote. Cool. Nicely done, everyone. We sprinted. Now we're gonna, the second part of the process is we're gonna focus just on the orange section. Oh, I'll share my screen. Oh, no need to. We're gonna focus just on the orange section over here, which is the prototype section. And we're all gonna just grab a stamp tool, and we all get 3 votes. So we all vote 3 times, and you can choose. Um, there's some duplications here. I just want to. We've got moderated usability test twice. We've got unmoderated. I'm just going to quickly. We've got A/B testing. Just going to quickly remove any duplications. Okay, yeah, I've removed all duplications. Um, we each get 3 votes, so feel free to place your sticker vote on the sticker in the orange box, which you think would be the best tool or methodology to learn if your solution is solving the problem.
Mo,
Yeah,
before we do that, is there any of these that folks do not know or don't understand the purpose of or don't know how it works?
good question.
Because if yes, then we should let that person share their thoughts or show us an example of what that thing is. And don't be shy if you don't understand something. That's totally fine.
Wizard of Oz. I mean, I heard about it, but I don't remember what is it. If you can just remind me.
It's that one I wrote, A Wizard of Oz. It's similar to a concierge MVP where you're running people through a flow, and you're pretending that the product is able to do things, but it's actually you in the back end doing those things for them. So
Mm-hmm.
you're like, can you just suspend belief for one moment and just imagine that the product could do X, Y, or Z, and that's what that is.
Okay, nice, interesting.
For me, it would be helpful to have a definition of all of them.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'll shoot through the ones that I know the definitions of, and then I'll hand over the baton to the other ones that I'm not familiar with. Moderated usability testing would basically be running usability tests with 5 users, setting a goal. The user would complete a specific goal. You run the usability tests with them, and you record the interviews, and then you capture insights from those interviews. So you observe them using the interface. Unmoderated would be the same thing, but this time there's no one actually moderating. You're not guiding them through, you're not asking questions, you're not probing. They're doing the test completely on their own, in their own time. A/B testing is what Jakob just did recently. So basically, you have come up with 2 different design solutions, and you're showing the 2 different design solutions to users, and you are, getting their feedback based on which one they like more, which one they like less.
And that one you could also be doing as a survey, so it's independent of whether it's an interview or whether it's surveying, or you can do it live on a real page.
The landing page MVPs, I'll hand over to Art. I'm not familiar with that one.
Sorry, Mo, which one did you say?
The landing page MVPs, I'm not really familiar with that.
Landing page MVP is you pretend that you have a functional product. You pretend that you've built out a feature set, like a marketing almost drip. And if people, and you get people's feedback on it. Like, if this was a real thing, would you like it or not? Again, this is meant to test kind of viability.
So you don't have a product, but you kind of do a mock-up of a landing page with features.
Yep.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Christoph added one here as well. Share designs in public forums such as Reddit, Twitter, Bitcoin Design, and also ask for feedback. This is definitely something that we do a lot in the open source space. We definitely do. we do share our designs in public and we ask people to, for their feedback. I don't know if you'd like to touch on that one, Christoph.
Yeah, there's also this community. What is it? Indie developers or something like that, where they also really encourage building your product in public, basically, and sharing your whole process. Because along the way, you'll get really valuable feedback. And for those indie developers, I think a big part is also that by the time you launch, you actually have an audience. You've done your marketing along the way, and you might have your first potential users. So this, yeah, I mean, you have to do it the right way, especially on Reddit. It can easily go wrong if you put things the wrong way. People will rip you apart. But I mean, I've done that before with things, just sharing things and getting good feedback. And some things, people love it, and some, just fall on deaf ears and no one cares. I think it's just a very good, quick check that's very direct in a way,
Yeah.
relying on your community.
Is that like if we were to simplify the phrasing, would that be build out loud?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it takes some effort because just saying like, "Hey, I made an image design here. What do you think?" You kind of have to tell the story in a way too, because yeah, you're trying to convey a vision of what your product does and whatnot, and the people will help you refine maybe exactly what it should be.
I think it's very tricky to do it well, right? I never thought about this, that it's a kind of UX research tool, but when you posted that note, I said, yeah, like we do it all the time, but it's, I think often, yeah, it depends how you ask or how you present this. You can get very different answers, so it's very tricky and hard to do it well. So I think this would be useful.
Yeah, yeah. Except for on Reddit, for example, I've had the experience with that when I just write in the title like, "Hey, all, I just made this real quick. What do you think?" It's great. But if you write something, "I would love to get some user feedback on this concept prototype," then, like if you're too formal, then people will just be turned off and they will not take you serious. It's just, you kind of have to know who you're talking to and how they want to be talked to.
Um, Mickey, do you want to? I don't know if I pronounced your name correctly, and forgive me if I have, but do you want to talk about the design sprint workshop?
Sure. I would say it's com- it's not an let's say exercise for one person. It's a workshop for the whole team. And by the way, like my name is Jan Mikula, but like my nickname is Mickey, so that's the confusion. Anyway, back to the design sprint, and it's like for like the original one is like 5 days, but like there are a version of like 4 days, and basically it's like sort of 2 days of different kind of discussion exercises where it kind of follows the double diamond that you kind of start with the discussion about okay what problem are we trying to solve. During that you create kind of or you write down challenges using how might we exercise. um, then you do something that's called lightning demos. It's basically that you look at different examples of other application how they're solving similar problems, and you kind of create a library of good ideas for you. And then there is kind of a homework at the end of the first day where people will sketch, for example, on a paper or somehow they will sketch their own ideal solution. And the next day, like people present it, and then there is also voting where people kind of vote for good ideas and create kind of heat up of good ideas. And then the rest of the second day, it's about kind of putting those good ideas together. And then the third day is about, for example, is about prototyping that one idea that people agreed on, for example using Figma, let's say. And the fourth day is about performing user testing on 4 or 5 people and get feedback. So the idea is that you kind of squash the whole kind of research prototype, the whole kind of process into 4 days. And I would say it's particularly useful if you have, I don't know, busy stakeholders, kind of different groups, kind of bringing together, because usually there should be like designer, engineer, exactly some stakeholder. And because it's so intensive, it's very actually very good because maybe the some problem that you weren't able to kind of tackle in several months, because you kind of put all the people in one room for 2 days, and then you prototype it and test it. You can quickly spin out a sort of new project. So that's kind of the rationale behind design sprint. So I think it's very, very powerful tool, and definitely I think it fits somehow to. It's basically a combination of different exercises, but the nice thing, it's kind of structured workshop that definitely groups and teams and organization can use when, for example, they are starting on new big feature or something like that.
And Art, do you want to maybe give a thank you for that, Jan? Um, Art, do you maybe want to give a little bit of an intro to the rapid prototyping?
Rapid prototyping has the same philosophy behind it as design sprint workshops. It is not as structured in that it's not, day one, day two, day three. It's simply the practice of putting out an MVP or a higher fidelity prototype in front of users and iterating on that in at least 3 batches of testing. Put in front of people, get them to give feedback on it, do you know, you could run like an actual usability criteria, like like task success. You can run NPS on it. You can run um, a CSAT on it. But you cycle through it and you build an improvement every single time that you do the next batch. So by the third time that you're running through this with your participants, it will have been improved substantially compared to when you first started off. It helps you get rid of your ego bullshit, basically, and it gets you to a better prototype.
Brilliant. That's a new one for me. I'm happy to learn more about that one. Um, Henry, would you like to talk a little bit about the one that you added?
Sure. I added the first click test. That is an approach to when you have a prototype and you want to get quick feedback on it. It can be, you can get less rich information than a moderated usability test, but you can get often a larger audience to participate. Essentially, you can kind of create a simple prototype and kind of add sort of like hotspots like you might see in a actually clickable prototype, and give it to either to a large audience via a survey or in a one-on-one interview if you prefer that, and ask for feedback where people they click around the prototype to see where they would go naturally, and then record wherever they've clicked. And you can add-on questions such as, what did that button represent to you, or what do you expect to happen at this point? So I think the intention is to have a larger audience involved in a prototype feedback session than a moderated usability test.
Brilliant.
I was just thinking, everyone here is involved in certain types of projects, which are probably really different. I was just trying to go through each of these and try to match the projects that I'm involved with or have recently been involved with. Which of those tools would have been a good match for each of them? And some things I can get clear connections, but other ones I can't.
Yeah.
And I'm curious. I mean, it would probably take a long time to lay that out for everyone. But I'm curious how others think about that. Are there ones where you feel like, yep, that totally get it, that worked, and other ones where you're just like, you've never seen it work, you've never tried it, you never had the opportunity?
Christoph, maybe to your point, maybe not like a product feature we can add or layer on top of this toolkit is a difficulty score, like let's say 1 to 3, right? 1, 2, 3. And that way it could signal to the person who's wanting to choose a method how much effort it would take to try a method out, given the resources that they have.
That is such a good one. And that is another point that I think we should make quite clear also to answering Christoph's question, is because these teams that work in these open source projects, things need to be agile for them, and they need to be able to have a time indication of how long each of these tools are going to take them to run. A team that's, is maybe, if they want to make fast iterations or fast changes to the product, they're going to be less likely to use a tool that's maybe going to take 2 weeks, or methodology that takes 2 weeks. But I think, coming back to Christoph's point, is I think a good approach would be to spend 2 minutes and everyone actually votes on a particular tool. And then after that, we come back to Christoph again, and we would basically find the tools that we say, okay, these ones have gotten the most votes. And then I'd actually kind of like to hear from Christoph, like, hey, do you actually see these tools being applicable to projects in the community?
Hey, I'm not. Why do I have such an influence on that?
Because you spent
Let's
3
bully Christoph into figuring this out for us.
Christoph, because you're the dinosaur, you've been spending 3 years in the community, so you actually know, you know, you actually know what can be applicable. So we all vote, and then we kind of group the ones that get the most votes, and then we go a really quick iteration after that and say, hey, do you actually see these being practically applied in the projects? And we hear Christoph's vote on that one. Yeah, does that feel good? Christoph is like, no. You asked a good question, and we don't have 3 years of experience in the community to know that. We do not. No one sitting in the call has that. Only you do. So it's only something that we can get from you. Okay. So guys, yeah, Letitia.
I'm curious, what's the selection criteria then? If you could tell me, it's something that is quickly to do, quickly to understand. Yeah.
So one of the selection criteria to keep in mind is that this should be done by someone who's never done UX research before, at the very least. And just keep that persona in mind, that this person is a dev, is a founder, is a builder. They might be a designer, but they have never done a substantial research project before.
We're working with an audience that, if you say user journey mapping to them, they might not necessarily understand what that means. This is yeah.
Or their bias is that any of these tools are so complex and complicated that they'd rather just blur their brains out and just talk with users, and that's their method, which is cool.
Okay, cool, guys. Let's jump in. We get 3 votes each. So take your stamp, whichever stamp you like, and we're voting only in the orange section of this canvas. So I'm going to start a timer. I think 2 minutes is more than enough. And I'm going to play some different music. Let's get voting. times over. This is so fun. I'm really enjoying playing the music. I hope I'm not the only one and you guys don't find the music annoying. I'm going to go ahead and grab the ones that got the most votes. I'm going to leave them where they are and I'm going to make copies of them. I'm just going to move them over. So that's a clear one, the moderated usability testing. I'm going to grab this one as well. That one got a whole bunch of votes as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The landing page MVP got a lot of votes as well. And the building out in public from Christoph also got a lot of votes. Cool. So yeah, let's open up a little bit. Let's first open up the floor to Christoph. And sorry for calling you a dinosaur. I hope that's
Dinosaurs are cool.
You like me
They're
calling
awesome. You ever watch Jurassic Park? Dinosaurs are amazing.
Christoph, you're
Just
also
wreck all
cool.
kinds of stuff. Yeah. So here's the thing. I was at a Web3 conference retreat last year as well, and I know the Web3 stuff is pretty gigantic. I think in Bitcoin we kind of keep it simple. You know, it's money. We pay, we save, we stack sats. It's kind of it. Well, recently we've also put images on there, but that's a different thing. But it's fairly straightforward, right? But within those, there's a lot of depth, like the security, savings, having very quick instant payments at the store, a smooth experience there, but also being able to save, potentially large amounts of money within the confines of your home and being sure you don't mess up, you lose your keys. There's a lot of depth in each of those different things. But I know from the larger Web3 is you get into some other stuff. And like last year, there was something about like, there was some project that was about fixed yield income, and the visual style was like some video gamey 80s stuff, which is like, I don't know, fixed yield sounds like, to me personally, like the most boring financial product I can ever think of. It looked really cool because of the graphics and whatnot. But I personally have no idea how you would, that is such a different beast of evaluating whether this is a right thing to build, whether the market is valid, whether people are in it, like it's long-term commitment type of thing. I just don't know much about that type of product, right? And that's why I'm very hesitant to say, like, that this should be applicable for everyone. And I'm curious to hear everyone else's feedback because we have such different and broad experiences.
Yeah.
But I guess some couple of small comments. I think the landing page MVPs, I feel like there are two versions of this. One is the thing that I think it was called ghetto testing by Zynga, where they would make like one image of a game and let people click through, and like there was a dead link, but they just wanted to see if people click through stuff, which is kind of tricking people. I think that's very different when you make a placeholder landing page that says, hey, we're working on this. We're planning these features. What do you think? Would you love to do it? Here's probably what it's going to look like. Talk to us. Obviously, I like the one that I proposed. Moderated usability testing. I think that is like one of the core essential things. You sit with someone, they look at it, you ask them if they do something, you get that contact, you observe them, you can observe what they do on the screen, their body language, you ask them to speak out loud. I think that's like one of these really core things. And rapid prototyping, which it's a little bit of combination, like what's the right term? Part of moderated usability testing. Like it's a series, and every time you change it a little bit in a way. So those kind of go together. But I'm kind of curious to hear from others, from the Open UX crew. What do you think of my initial thoughts about this breadth and like how different types of projects is really just need different things? Like, some NFT project for NFL or something is just really different than a personal, Lightning wallet or, node setup, or Jakob with Aldi and whatnot.
Yeah, I was kind of racking my brain during this exercise because I kept on like landing on the fact, like, what the hell are they even building? to begin with.
Yeah.
It's always going to be a custom-made solution with the people we work with, right? Like we're going to really, in our stakeholder interviews, we're going to really understand what exactly do they need, right? What do they need to learn? What do they not know? And then from there, we make our way to then say, you know what, this method will probably work in this way, and we might not need this and that. And so at some level, you need like to standardize something like this and say, hey, use this. It could be dangerous in someone's hands who's like, you know what, I kind of get what this is doing, but you know, like they might make major mistakes, right? And so part of me was thinking like, when we think of a toolkit, like maybe the best toolkit is an expert, like a researcher who knows what they're doing and is there to be like, let me just help you through this process a little bit. You know, maybe it doesn't have to be completely asynchronous. Maybe there's like, you know, office hour component. Like, what exactly are you trying to do here? Let me make sure you don't screw this up for yourself. Because sometimes bad research can be, I'm sure everyone has heard this, bad research can be worse than no research in some cases, right? Could completely lead you in the wrong way. So I'll kind of, sorry, yeah, go ahead, Mom.
No, go ahead. I interrupted you. Please go ahead.
No, that was about it. I would be curious to see how other people think about that. You know, I think the interface you choose to like share this with someone matters a lot. And until you correct those assumptions they have about research, right? Like depending on what their role is, like if it's like just like a dev team, they might have some weird assumptions about what research actually is. Or maybe it's just an entrepreneur who's just interested in doing discovery stuff, right? Like they're going to be coming from so many places. It might be difficult to one size fit all solution, but that's just what I think.
I think you and Christoph touched on a really important point because, you know, Precious, who's on this call, reached out to me yesterday and he said, hey, I'm going to be doing some research on Wasabi Wallet. And my first instinct, he asked me straight away, hey, can you send me the link to the UX Research Toolkit? And I said, well, that doesn't feel like the best idea at this stage because we still need to rework the introduction page. So I actually jumped on a call with Precious this morning and I asked him to show me which tool he would choose based on the project that he's working on. And I think you and Christoph definitely touched on a really important point is putting it in the hands of people and then, you know, automatically trusting that they know which tool to use. There's a little bit of a fine line between that. And we definitely need to address that some way in the UX Research Toolkit as much as possible. Manash, you're nodding your head.
Yeah. I'm just saying you need to adjust the nuance, even at the method level, because even if you read a book on a method, there's a lot of nuance you don't get until you actually try it out and you iterate yourself and you really learn the tool, right? It's like, I don't want to give a hammer to a 4-year-old and have them walk around with it and they might hurt someone, right? So until you teach them how to use the hammer, I mean, maybe it's a bit unsafe. But I don't know. I'd love to hear Henry's take on this. This is really great, really great.
Just real quick, I added 2 links here in Slack. One of them is the second one is a list of projects we've kind of observed as community projects in the Bitcoin design community over the last, there are 20 projects in there. And it's very, very quick with a bunch of links out, specifically for myself also, it's kind of a archive to know like what we've gone through and to remember what these types of projects needed and what's worked out for them, like matching it against real stuff. And I'm sure, you know, this is all open source stuff. Like if Open UX does work more with clients, then it's going to be a very different set of projects. So matching it against the real use is helpful. And then the other one was this old collaboration document that I keep coming back to, which is basically, it says a project shows up, they have problem X, what's a good thing to do? And so the UX research kit can have a list of tools and then a list of problems. And people can identify with the problem and then get recommendations for the right tools to help with that.
And that way, what Christoph said is we're making it safer in putting it in the hands of people. Because then we're saying, look, these are your problems. Did you nod your head 10 times to all of these checkpoints? You nod your head 10 times, probably this is the right tool for you. So we can slightly guide them towards the right direction. But we only have 2 minutes and I don't want to, take up any more of you guys' time than the planned allocation of an hour. Next steps with this, it feels like we've voted on four. There were four that have come to the forefront, which we collaboratively decided on. I'd like to maybe sit on that as a group for a while and let that, I would use the word ferment for a while before actually saying, hey, we've made a decision, these are going to be the four. Maybe reach out to the community, reach out to some people, put those ideas in front of them and see how they feel about it, working with the larger community. And then we have another call and we actually decide on, the other one, the other part of the toolkit, which is the iterate, make your solution better over time. I was very ambitious, and I thought that we'd be able to vote on the iterate section and the prototyping section, but I realized that that was very ambitious for this call. But I'd like to hear very quickly from you guys. Did you actually enjoy the call? Did you feel that your voice was heard? It's really important for me that this feels like a very collaborative process.
I felt too much pressure.
Too bad, Christoph.
Too bad. Alia, go ahead.
Great balance of getting some good work done and being fun too. So thanks for the invite. Appreciate it.
You guys are so welcome on the next call. Really loved having you guys here.
Oh, you guys are waiting for me to talk. Sorry. I really enjoyed it a lot. So thanks.
Cool. That's important. We like to have fun. Fun is important. Anyone else?
It just reminds me of this whole waterfall versus agile reality, where like you could plan all the hell you want, but anything beyond 3 weeks is made up, right? Like in reality. So like we had OpenUX come and blow everything apart, and that's incredible. Not just OpenUX, but other folks from our community come in and be like, no, let's talk about this instead. Let's do this instead. So my proposal is that we, from a product point of view, is that we remove, at least for the next month or so, the topics within our calls, and we just keep the dates, and then within each we could refer people to our project plan to guide them towards our next topics. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Instead of like, next call we're going to work on iterate. Well, no, maybe the community has different thoughts on prototype before we go on to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that feels a lot more fluid, which is what we do in the community. So
Exactly, yeah.
you're learning fast, Art. You're learning really fast. I'm gonna stop the recording now. 1 second.